It like
I see
really
your
sneaks up on me
color.
every time.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I gotta hit the button.
It's showtime
Well, I'm used to us
at
record.
the
I'm not used to being
Apollo.
live. I'm used to doing our recordings, and like
That's true.
I don't have control over that. You just hit the buttons.
Basically, we're here.
I am
It's that time to discuss our monthly pick from April.
woo woo.
Or is it a
So
good time? I don't know. It's going to be a very interesting talk. I have thoughts, you have thoughts. It's going
I
to be
really
a
hope some
time.
people join us that have actually read or even watched Battle Royale because I am curious about what has gone into making this the sort of cult classic that it is, whether it's just like the novelty of when it was written and came out or what. But I'm pretending like I'm drinking.
Yeah. Hmm. Cult classic is an interesting term. What
Yeah,
deems something a cult classic, because people are always talking about it, because every so many years a particular movie or book goes through a surge of people buying it up. Like, what actually classifies a cult classic? Because I feel like cult classics are something that everyone's heard of, or at least a good majority of people.
to me, I feel like a cult classic is like say like a movie that nobody really likes when it comes out, but
Hmm.
like the original Buffy movie is a cult classic because it really didn't do all that well when it came out in the theaters. However, like if you were in a certain generation of people, you all and Heathers, I feel like Heathers as well.
I did not watch Squid Games. I do
I
have
have
it like on my Netflix list,
hmm
but I have not watched it. So it's been compared to this. Oh, interesting. Okay.
I
Interesting.
hope it's more compelling.
Well, she's just going to give it all away right now, isn't she? All right. You want to start off with what we're
Yeah,
currently
let's
reading or
start
what we
with a
just finished?
normal shebang. And if you are watching or live or on the replay, let us know what you're currently reading. You
Or
want
what you
me to
just
go
finished?
or what you just finished? What you're reading next? I don't know. Just talk to us. We like being talked to. I just finished, and I don't know if I can get to the beginning of it. Can I? Oh, I can. Woohoo! I just finished The Girl from the Sea because I needed that lovely serotonin moment of completing something, and it's really lovely. It's this young girl who lives in this very small town, like ocean town, like she's on a little island, and her parents get divorced, and she's queer, and she doesn't feel comfortable telling anybody, and like her whole plan is like to just get off this island, go to college, and she'll live be herself there basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then she ends up meeting this girl from the sea, and
Oh.
then they fall in love and a whole bunch of stuff happens, and there's a little bit of environmentalism, there's a little bit of like coming to terms with like who you are and friendships and yada. It's like warm and fuzzy and not my normal thing. It's warm and fuzzy, it's warm and fuzzy and happy and
It's not
uplifting,
sad or horrific.
which is what I normally read. But it's lovely, and the artwork's really beautiful, and I really like the mom in it. I feel like the mom's really lovely, and I just love the message, and it's got some really great rep, and it's lovely. It's worth a nice. It's a good afternoon read.
Well, that's nice.
We got some Danielle
Okay.
Steele going on.
All right, so this makes me happy. So, Marie, I have this thing where I'm obsessed with how popular Jackie Collins and Danielle Steele are, and so I really wanted to like read books from them. So I already started Jackie Collins. I'm reading the what is it? What's that? Oh, what's the series? The one
Oh,
with the mob
the
people.
you want me to remember it?
I was
I don't
asking
even
myself, but
remember
anyway, I
my
started reading that,
name.
and
It's
then I was
the Lucky
seeking.
Chance or
Oh,
Lucky
yeah, something
Charms.
like
No,
that.
that's not right.
I
It's not
I'll
Lucky
yeah,
Charms.
I'll remember it later. And so then I was hunting down, I believe it's Danielle Steele's first book. I think it's called Going Home. So I'm gonna read that at some point just to give her a try, because I'm just so like, these women have just been
I
writing
just know
just
that
so
like I'm
vigorously.
fairly certain my grandma has read all of these things, and I know
Yeah.
some of them are cool. Lunky Santana or
Oh,
Santangelo or
okay. The
some.
Lucky Santangelo series, Jackie Collins. Yes. So next is Danielle Steele. Okay. Anyway, that was fun.
It was a bit much for
Oh,
you.
okay. But very dark
See,
and binge worthy.
see, and we'll talk about this when we get into Battle Royale. But I really wanted to watch it before we had this discussion, and then I promptly forgot about it and did other things, and now here we are. But I'm just very curious about the difference between it being a film versus
The book.
being the book. Yeah, but
Mm.
we'll talk a little bit more about that.
All right. So
What are
today,
you reading?
Alyssa will be very excited because today after work, I started The Glass Hotel. I don't know what it's about because I don't like to read the synopsis before I go into it. But I'm only 42 pages in, but I'm already invested. I'm invested in Paul and Victor. I'm here. I'm here. So
To
I'll read a little
use
bit more of this tonight.
to use her terminology from the talk, because I went to go see Emily St. John Mandel talk at not a local library, but a local enough library.
Mhm.
And one of the terms she kept using to describe her own work is velocity. And there's
Mhm.
a definite like velocity to all of her writing. You just zip through it. She is
Yeah.
not I have not read her first couple books. And she mentioned that her prose was a little bit wordier and flowerier
Mm.
uh,
Interesting.
in at least her first novel. So it'd be
Mhm.
really interesting to go back and compare it because I guess she's even more like snappy and quip. I don't know. I'm very
Mhm.
tired.
Quippy.
Quippy in
Sea of
Sea of
Tranquility.
Tranquility, but we'll find out when you finally finish the Glass Hotel. And now I know where the connection is because that obviously it's not really a spoiler, but spoiled for me
Mhm.
last night. Otherwise, I don't really have any spoilers from the talk, but yeah, really excited that you're
Yeah.
reading
Well,
that.
so far I'm really into it, and I'm gonna try to read another 40 or 50 or so pages this evening. So yeah.
I think my favorite thing about her writing is how she marries sci-fi and lit fic.
Mhm.
And, those are all the things I really love. It's like why I love Goliath because you've got sci-fi and literary fiction together. So, and not everybody is going to like that combo of a book, but I
Yeah.
mean, I love it so much. It's like in my sweet spot.
It's so funny because as I was starting The Glass Hotel, I was like, I should read Station 11 over again. And I may do that after we read Sea of Tranquility because I know that the show, which was very good,
Mhm.
I
I
do
think
believe
they've
it's
made
quite
some
different
change.
from the book.
So
It's not like mirroring the book.
she wasn't a writer at all on the show, so it could
Right.
be quite different. But I think if HBO signs off on The Glass Hotel, she's gonna be more involved in the writing
Okay.
of
Did
it.
she make any comments as to what she thought about
Oh, she loved
HBO?
Station 11.
Okay, because it was very art housey. It's really, really well done.
I mean, she is a perfect consumer of art housey work. I mean, I feel like she is the audience, I think, just
Oh
from
yeah. Oh
seeing
yeah.
her talk, and reading her work, and yeah, no. So that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Because I think when did I read Station 11? Maybe a couple years ago, and then watch the show when it came out. So I like to read the book again. That's what I
yeah,
like to do.
I think Aaliyah sent me the book for some reason a year or so ago, and
Mm-hmm.
like there was a reason for it. Maybe I was having a bad day or something or whatever.
Yeah.
And I read it and it's phenomenal. And I know like it's so many people's one of their favorite books. And is a pre-pandemic book. And it was interesting because I was
Mm-hmm.
definitely reading it during the pandemic. So
Right.
it's a trip.
I
Especially the
think.
scenes where he's like in the grocery store just filling up grocery carts and bringing it to his house,
Yeah.
his apartment.
That was
Yeah.
really intense on the show too. See, I read it before the pandemic, so that must have been early 2020, maybe. Um, yeah. So anyway, yeah, I'm
This is
excited to get
becoming the
into her
Emily
next
St.
book.
John Mandel like summary. Alyssa went on a field trip and let's talk. I took
She's a
myself
good
on a
writer.
date She is a really good writer. And I did tell her, I was like, you really need to do audiobook narration. She was like, really? I was like, your voice is really soothing. And she was like, thank you. But I heard it's really grueling. I was like, I can imagine that. It's
Well,
really terrible.
yeah,
It's got to be terrible to record audiobooks. You just keep
yeah.
saying the same things over and over and over again.
There is
So,
definitely an art to it. As we know, everyone is not a great narrator.
mm-mm.
That is really a true skill. So,
Ooh, what's your you and I talked about this, but like what's your least favorite audiobook you've ever listened to?
Middle Game
The
by Shauna
Beautiful.
McGuire. I hate the book and I hate the audiobook. And let me be very clear. Let me be very clear. I'm a real Shauna McGuire fan. Like a real one. I have read maybe 14 of her books.
Mhm.
Middle Game is the only one I actually just I want to throw it away and like just never think about it again. I started that book and I liked the beginning. And then something happened where I just felt like things were so repetitive and I was getting very bored. And so I said, well let me just put it down and then come back to it. 2 or 3 months went by and I said, let me try the audiobook. Oh, that was a mistake. Why did I do that? The audiobook's terrible. And it just made me angry. It made me angry. So then I was in the mental
No.
space where I just wanted to finish the book, but it was not an enjoyable experience. But she is one of my favorite authors. And that's the only book of hers that I don't like.
I very much liked Middle Game. I need to read the next one, and I need to read the next one is The Saltwise Sea, which is the Deborah A. Baker
Mm-hmm.
version, like that little connector novella thing. I don't
Yeah.
know how you want to say that. Companion
Yeah.
novellas. I don't know. I like the weird little world. It's definitely not a book for everybody. But I like the weird little world. But The Beautiful is definitely by Renee Ahdieh. Is the worst audiobook I've ever listened to in my entire life.
Worse than Shatter Me.
Yes, because when the vampires parts go in The Beautiful, I wanted to stab myself in my ear holes because it was just so bad.
Because the Shatter Me audiobook was pretty bad too. Like that would be my number two.
Mm. Shatter Me was
Interesting.
like bad, but like it was fine. Like it didn't bother me that much.
Oh, it
And
bothered me.
I have a high tolerance for like bad audiobooks. Like I even like make my Kindle read to me. So like,
Oh,
like computer generated terrible voices. There's a lot of room for Alyssa to like
I don't know.
if I
The
don't like
audiobook
it, it's really bad.
the audiobook narrator for Shatter Me made some really interesting choices that I just did not jive with. But Middle Game is still the worst one for me.
I also just want to let you know that my Libby holds are getting incredibly depressing. Because I have Lolita and the Bell Jar currently on it, and I've got to get to work on them. So I feel like I'm going to have a very depressing week next week when I start getting these
Oh,
off of
we were
my.
supposed to have that big bell jar buddy read, remember? That never happened.
That's not going to happen. And if my irrational fear of reading the Bell Jar and going insane happens, well,
Oh no.
it's been fun, guys.
Well, don't drink wine while reading that one. Um, maybe read it during the day when it's like a lot of sun outside. You
I'll
know,
sit in front of my lamp, my like sad lamp, and just read
no,
it
be
so I don't
outside
have.
in the sun. When it's actually
So
in the
I will
sun.
save it for vacation because I'll just sit by the
Oh
pool
yes, there
in
you
the
go.
beating sun and try to counteract the depressive nature with
Do
vitamin D.
that. Do
Mhm.
that. And then have you a fun little manga to follow up with. Mm-hmm.
You're so smart.
Oh yeah.
You're
Yeah.
so smart. Get yourself a smart friend.
No heads in the oven. Okay.
Yeah, no, please. I mean,
No.
well, when they changed from gas to the gas in the UK, they had a lot
Mm-hmm.
fewer people doing that. So
When I read that one little tidbit, I was like, wow, so people were just doing that, huh? That was
yeah,
just
I mean, it was a
so
really easy and non. Well, this is not where I thought this was this live was going to go. But in terms of like ways to unalive yourself to get the algorithm to not automatically shut us down by the YouTube gods, it is probably one of the least painful. So a lot of times people don't want to hurt themselves, but they're hurting a lot. So it's not crazy to think that like that was
hmm.
a form of unaliving that was very
It
utilized.
just it feels so horrific to me, but Anyway,
But
that's
you
just
just
my
go to well,
imagination
that's
running
because
off in the wild.
you've never been in that pit of despair, but, like, I kind of understand it, like, you just go to sleep, so
Mm, yeah, read that on the beach.
I mean, truthfully, my back would hurt if you had to stick my head in an oven, but I'm too old for that.
Jeez. This is good times, guys. Good
Uh,
times.
I'm just getting us prepared for the darkness that is Battle Royale.
Well, let's get into it.
Why don't you go? What
All
did
right, so let
you
me
think of this? Because you were very psyched. I didn't even know this existed until you told me about it, and I got on the train. So tell me your feels.
well, okay, so here are my overall thoughts. I would say that I thought it was pretty exciting like the first quarter of the ways in. And then because it's so many students, I was very confused the whole way through with who is who and who's still around and who's in what group. And I think the thing that I like most about it was just hearing how someone was murdered. And then I would get a little bored. And then you'd find out how someone got murdered, and that was exciting. And then I would get a little bored. So it's also the kind of book where it was fine enough while reading it, but I barely remember anything from this book afterwards. So I guess that says a lot. But I mean, I think it's a fine read. I think it's somewhat fun in the midst of it, but this is not a memorable book for me. But it's fine while reading it. If you just want that
Unf-
kind of a murdery good time.
Unfortunately, I do remember this book, and I would like to not remember it. Um, it's just I'm curious. Did the mangas come first and someone made it a novel, or did the novel come first and someone made it into manga? Because I would be curious to try the mangas because I wonder if this is more engaging to me as a reader as a manga
Mm,
because I would be wrapped up in the artwork and I wouldn't care that all the sentences are very like jilted and not engaging in any way.
that's a
And
good question.
like because again, like you said, like the most fun thing was actually just when somebody was getting murdered in like a crazy way. And otherwise, like I could have slept through half of it and I might have. Like all these long passages with what's his face like explaining how to build a something or other and then I'm going to put the rope here. I need exactly this much rope and we're going to string it from here
Right.
to there and then I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do that and then I put this circuit on that circuit. I was like no. I don't care. Like I don't need that kind of detail. Like are you trying to teach me how to build a pipe bomb? Cuz one, you didn't give me enough information to build a bomb, but you gave me just
Right.
enough to make me bored. And
Right.
like that's not what I want to be. I'm
Yeah.
so bored. And I think there's entirely too many students and you didn't have any time with them to actually care about them in any way.
Well, that's true because the chapters are so super short and it's not like you're getting like a tiny bit of like student background on some of them, but not all of them. And even what you're getting is just not enough for you to build any kind of connection with them, to root for anybody or to really hate somebody. It's just very sparse. So I
Well, I
understand what you're saying about that.
feel like it's a vehicle to discuss all these crazy deaths, which is fine. But I that's why I think, like, the mangas have to be better because they can really dig deep into, like, all the death scenes and the gore and all the stuff, and just visually, and
Hmm.
it would probably be way more compelling than reading some of this stuff. And sometimes I couldn't follow, like, who was doing what to whom because like, you'd have people, like, trying to have sex and then somebody would come out of a bush and then people would like change roles and then suddenly somebody else is the one who's murdered and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Who?
Yeah.
What?"
It was very confusing. Yeah. Yeah.
And so like
Yeah.
we need to watch it though cuz I also think it might play better on screen.
Oh, sure.
S-
I'm sure.
Where you don't have to tell as much and you can just show me
Show.
things.
You could just show. But you know, I guess an interesting little concept or whatever. But I don't know. I did expect a little more from this. And I also thought it was going to be even more grittier and like more horrific than it actually was. I should not pump things up in my head beforehand, because that did not serve me in this case. Like I said, it's fine enough, but what I thought it was going to be, it didn't meet that assumption that I had for this book.
I also just wanted more about this version of the world where you have this crazy whatever they were called. What was the name of their like regime? I can't even remember. Anyway, their republic or what have you. I want
Hmm.
to know more about their like political system than I do somebody building some wiretapping system to be able to get a phone out. Like, I don't need you to explain that part to me. I just need you to explain enough to me to be like, okay, that's believable that this kid was able to get a phone call out.
Right.
And then I would like you to spend some more time explaining to me why the world is the way it is and why all these people are so upset with the government and um
Yeah,
what
because
is
you only
happening to
get
these people that are like rebelling. There is this Hunger Games like thing where you have this sort of rebel faction and they don't get any time. That's not like that's juicy stuff there. Like you can really go into it and they just kind of like no.
well, this was a very inside type of book. It didn't give you the exterior
Mhm.
stuff, just the interior stuff. Let me read here about the definition it gives for the program. A listing of the order of events and other information, a battle simulation program conducted by our nation's ground defense forces, instituted for security reasons, officially known as Battle Experiment Number 68 program. The first program was held in 1947. 50 53rd year junior high classes are selected annually. Prior to 1950, 47 classes were selected to conduct the program for research purposes. Classmates in each class are forced to fight until one survivor is left. Results from this experiment, including the elapsed time, are entered as data. The final survivor of each class, in parentheses, the winner, is provided with a lifetime pension and a card autographed by the great dictator. In reaction to protest and agitation caused by extremists during the first year of its enactment, the 317th great dictator gave his famous April speech. The April speech was required reading in the first year of junior high school. So that's what that's about. I
But
do
like
think if they
that's
would have added the other, like if they would have added the exterior parts, it would have made this more interesting.
you could have taken
Meteor.
away a lot of the random, overly descriptive, boring bits and added
Mm-hmm.
in some actual contextual stuff to
Mm-hmm.
make people invested in the book. And I just don't get why it's such a classic. And I have to imagine, and I could just Google this, but did the manga come first? Like, is that what the problem?
I don't. Is problem the right word? I don't know. I don't know. And it also would have been great to like have some insight into the families of the students who were in the program, past and current. Just more stuff to like
Oh,
make the story more full. It didn't tell you.
the novel came first.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So
Well, they
somebody
keep
like
remastering the manga, so the manga must be doing very well.
so the novel was so good that someone made a manga out of it, and then a TV, then a show, a movie, whatever. The thing with the moving pictures.
I don't know. Like I can't see why someone would read this book and think it's like the best thing since sliced bread. You know what I mean? It's not terrible. I don't want to make it like it's not a terrible book, but it has so much room for potential. You know, there's so much more that could have been done to make this a much more exciting and interesting story. But on the face of it, it's not terrible.
To you.
I think it's fine. So this came out with a 1999.
Yeah.
Yes. First
And
published in
then
Japan in 1999. So
and then
maybe for
some of the
them,
problem with how sorry to cut you off, but some of the problem with the boring about with the overly detailed pieces where they're
mhm,
just like describing all the technical crap is it
mhm.
makes this book even more dated.
Well, yes. Yes. But I mean, what are you gonna do?
So it was published in 99.
1999.
The movie came out in 2000 and it looks like the mangas came out in 2003. So the mangas it looks like are like the last iteration and I could be wrong but that's my quick Google search. This was not scientific research here.
Yeah.
But I just
I don't know, maybe in Japan in 1999, maybe this was like a groundbreaking kind of a thing to read, you know?
I mean, I guess. I mean, you know what? I haven't read Lord of the Flies in a really long time, and I wonder how close to Lord of the Flies it is in terms of like, does Lord of the Flies give you more time with the characters for you to like them, or is it like this where it's a lot more? I don't know what the right word is. Dry. I can't remember. I can't remember because I haven't read it since I was in high school, which was
Mhm.
embarrassingly long ago. So
Yeah.
I just remember it was like the book all the boys liked. It was like
Yeah.
that, Catcher in the Rye. What else did boys like when we were in high school?
That was too long ago for me. I'm not even gonna pretend that I remember. Not gonna do it. I don't know. It was fine. It was fine. It didn't meet all my expectations. It's fine.
So are you happy you read it?
I'm indifferent. I'm
Yeah.
not happy or sad that I read it. I'm indifferent about it.
I mean, we can't always pick winners, but like I feel like there were so many other things we could have picked.
There's always so many other things we can pick. You know what I mean? It's so hard.
I know.
Look, everyone, it is so hard trying to figure out what book are we going to choose to read.
Mhm.
You just
Not
never
for
know.
next month. Next month's book is so good.
Yeah, even with this month, it's like we have high hopes that the Maleficent 7 is going to be amazing. I'm trusting the authority of these hardcore fantasy YouTubers that I
Grimdark.
watch,
Grimdark
so
fantasy.
but you never know how you're going to respond to it. It's always a crapshoot.
But I
So
mean, I think it's an excellent example, Battle Royale, of why telling and not showing can be incredibly boring. And like you
yeah,
obviously have to tell some things when you're writing,
yeah,
but
because this
you
is
don't need
also
to tell
not
everything.
this is not a short book.
No, it's a
This is
very long book that went on forever,
this is
and
almost 600 pages.
it did not need to be. Not to be mean, but it did not need to be 600 pages. And can we just take a second? And I know that this is a thing that comes up in manga a lot and anime, but what is it with like Japanese schoolgirls and short skirts and panties? Like, I just don't like what is that obsession with always somehow like seeing her panties? How many scenes were there where like it was like, and then he was looking up my skirt.
I mean, listen,
Okay.
compared to American culture, like sexually, that's nothing. So if they want to get all geeked up about seeing someone's panties, under a short skirt, it's
I
so
don't know why
clean to me compared
I
to
don't know why
American
that feels
culture.
creepier to me, though. That
I
feels
th-
creepier to me.
I don't I just think it
Maybe
feels
it's
innocent compared to us
maybe
Americans.
it's where it's, like, placed in the narrative that makes it always feel like, "Did you have to talk about your panties in that scene?" 'Cause, like, somebody was getting stabbed, and I don't know if, like
But there's some truth to that, right? Like, look, teenage boys are horny little suckers, and they can see someone get murdered right over there and then see breast, and it's like, oh,
boobies.
breast. You know what I mean? Like the hormones are what's really in control here.
Mhm.
Hormones over fear. Hormones win
Oh,
every time.
speaking of sexuality, I thought it was very interesting that you had that one character who do not ask me to remember anybody's name. There's entirely too many of them. But the girl who was basically a sex worker,
Oh,
wasn't
yes.
that fascinating?
Yeah.
Because
That I
how
did not
old are these
expect.
kids? They're like
They're
16
junior
years
they're
old.
they're junior, so what are they, 16?
Yeah, 15, 16 years old, and
Yeah.
she's essentially a sex worker and
Mhm.
has been put into it by her family.
Mhm.
It's so sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, but those are the things, like, that's an incredible, like, character piece that you could have
Expounded on.
really had. Yeah, you could have really gotten your people really engaged, and maybe I would remember her name. Um, but they just didn't.
Because there is an art to, especially when you have so many characters in a story, there is an art to taking each character and giving the reader a little bit of background info on all of them without making it feel mundane or overloaded. Like there's a skill to that. Everyone can't pull that off.
No. And I also wonder if it's if not the narrator, if the translator. Is it just a bad translation? Because
Translations
remember, like,
matter. Translations matter.
we're not reading this in Japanese.
Exactly.
So, is it a function of of the translation? Is the translation just missing the boat, or is it just written like this?
Because there were some funny lines, and I was like, oh, that doesn't sound right. I was like, it sounded like, oh, this is what you think it should sound like in English, but it's
Mhm.
weird how you worded that. There
Mhm.
were a few lines like that. I was like, that's my ear didn't like that.
I didn't like that.
Yeah, my ear didn't like that. So, translations matter. In your latest vlog, you were talking about translators, and I think when you do read translated works and you begin to read multiple books by the same translators, you
Mhm.
do get a feel for who you really jive with. Because you're here all the time, like, oh, if you're going to read Master and Margarita, read the one by this translator. If you're going to read Anna Karenina, read the one by this translator. So, like,
Mhm.
you do get that attachment of one translator may work for you over another.
Well, like, I
So,
know and I'm not sure how it works with other things because I don't translate, nor am I actually in publishing, but, like, I know things like Tolstoy, they will change certain translators that are, like, the lesser translators, I guess, the ones that aren't, like, the top shelf, like, this is the
hmm
translation you should read.
hmm
Um, they take out pieces or they try to change pieces from Tolstoy's original narrative to try to make it, like, snappier and more engaging
hmm
to whatever the audience is, but they're
hmm
really, by doing that, changing
you're
the
changing Tolstoy.
textually Tolstoy's work.
hmm
So, um, there are definitely better translations, but there's also, like, Tolstoy's been translated how many times? So,
Right.
how many times has Battle Royale been translated? Once.
Right.
Like, this is what we have.
Right.
But it's this weird thing about reading translated works is there's, like, you're reading it through a veil. Like,
Yeah.
it is being, like, put through somebody else's lens and given
Yeah.
to you. So you have
It's
no
their
idea.
interpretation of it. I think that, both you and I, we read a lot of translated works. In my mind, I think that I would prefer reading a translation that's as close to the original text as possible. But
Same.
like how the hell do you know?
But I don't know.
Unless,
But
you
that's
know what I
why
mean?
you
Like
just
how the
read.
hell do you know? You don't know.
I mean, I would love to have somebody come on and that is a translator and talk to us. I mean,
Mhm.
Anton Her, I guess is a younger translator that has only a few works under their belt, and I would hope that maybe that would make them more willing to come talk to us. But there tends to be some of the more seasoned translators. But
I'd like to
it
talk
would
to a
be
new
really
one and a seasoned one so we can get a good perspective on what it's like having like maybe a decades long career of being a translator
interesting.
versus being a very fresh and new one. I would like to get both perspectives. We need to work on that for sure. We've said this before.
Yeah, because it's definitely it's just so very interesting because, like, presumably these people also write on their own and
Some of
in
them,
some
yes.
capacity, and whether it's just for their own consumption or for public consumption,
Mhm.
but there is this authorness about them. And so, like, where do they bleed into the narrative? No matter how hard they try, there's always going to be a piece of them that's bleeding into the story. My brother's calling me. Of course, my brother's calling me.
Yeah, that's true too.
So,
Yeah, I was gonna say something else and now I forgot. Anyway, has anyone in the chat on the live read Battle Royale? If you did, what'd you think about it?
yeah, and even if you're watching the replay, please let us know what you thought. Because I mean, I feel like once you told me about Battle Royale and we put it on the list for books to read, then I started to see a couple people talk about it here and there. But I'll be honest with you, I don't really hear people talk about it, and I don't see it around. So I don't know why it has this whole thing, and I wonder if it's really like the movie that really is the big, and the manga are really the big
Yeah, I don't know.
sellers, and we've just picked the dud.
I don't know. I don't know. So that's a good question.
Are you super hot? Because I'm like super hot.
First of all, I'm burning up. I'm sweating. Just so you know. I know someone that I talked to on Bookstagram. She said that this is one of her favorite books. She read it in high school. She said it taught her how to read just for fun. So I thought that was interesting.
I mean, I hope she reads other things now that are better.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody needs their gateway book, so I'm not going to judge that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you're reading better things now.
Yeah. So
Dear person,
we read it. We read it.
I mean, I'm glad I read it because now I know about it, and I am curious about the manga, and I may try to find myself the manga. And
this is where you're alone. I am not interested in that.
You don't really like manga though, or graphic.
But even if I did, I don't want to revisit this. Even if I did like manga, I did this. I'm done. I don't want to revisit it. I don't feel the need to revisit it in another format. I'm done.
I mean, I'd be curious to look at how it's done. At least the first volume. It's 15 volumes. I mean, I might not read all 15, but I'd be curious to see.
I didn't realize it was 15.
What the first volume is like, and if I like it, and if it's better and more engaging. Because I don't even know if I remember half of this, because I think I zoned out like through large swathes of it, because they would just get into too much technicality and I would just get so bored, and then they'd get back to killing and I'd be like, yes, and then suddenly they would give us like a little bit of backstory or context on the world that they live in, and I'd be like engaged again, and then forget it, I was out.
Yeah Oh well, sorry, you weren't a winner, Battle Royale. It's fine.
It's a dud.
It's fine. I mean, I feel like we've had other duds. This wasn't as duddy, but yeah, I wanted more. I wanted
it was
more.
Still better than what was A Witch is Steeped in Gold. I did not like that book.
Well, I didn't, because I DNF'd it.
I know you did. I try to read all of our books, even if I don't like them.
I try too, but I will not be miserable for any of you. I won't.
I only liked half the narrative for the ones we're meant to find.
Oh, I DNF'd that one too. But I should have DNF'd the Library of the Dead, because that one really irritated me, but it's fine.
That one was fine. I just don't think it was adult, and that's what irritated me. As I think it was marketed as an adult novel, and it's very much written as a younger,
very much so,
YA story.
Very much so.
And if I had gone into it knowing that, I wouldn't have felt such a disconnect while reading it.
Well, if I would have known that, I wouldn't have recommended it. Sure. But also, that was back when I think now we're choosing books that we really have an interest in, and it didn't really start off that way in the beginning. It was kind of, here and there. But
I think in the beginning we were a lot more focused on trying to pick books that the audience that we want, like the audience we didn't have, would find engaging. And now I think we're channeling our old lady energy, and we're like, we don't give a fuck. We're gonna read what we want. That makes us happy.
Right. But I mean, also, I do think now we're really following our own mission, and that is, reading diversely as possible and sharing that with you all. So trying to get you all on board too, to read a little bit outside of your comfort zone. So
My problem with the Library of the Dead chat is that it was marketed to me as I got an arc of it from Tor, and it was kind of marketed like an adult sort of ghost story. It sounded phenomenal. You got Edinburgh ghosts, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
But when you read it, it read really young to me. So I just felt very confused because it wasn't what I was expecting going in. And I was just kind of like unsettled from the beginning of reading it. But I personally didn't dislike it. I chose not to continue on with the series just because I have so many series. I just don't need to. It's just not where I want to put my time. But I know Naomi didn't particularly like it.
Yeah, so my issue with it was one, yes, it read extremely young, and two, the main character, I just kept saying the whole time, teenagers or young people don't talk like this. It was very weird to me. It was extremely off-putting. And I think that book also could have taken more chances and been more interesting due to the chances it should have taken. That book has a
Yeah,
lot of potential.
and it's also the first in a series, so the next book could be better. They could have just been getting the ball rolling, and I'll never
Mhm.
know unless I decide to go back and revisit it. But
Yeah, I have no
um,
plans to, but
yeah. So I mean, it was fine. But that was also our month of like cover buys. We
yeah.
got duped by a lot of covers that month.
No, I was excited for that book. I really thought it was gonna be a little bit, creepy and really good. That
No,
was not
that
a
was
cover
our
buy.
that month was our original pick, and then we added two more,
Yes.
and they were
Yes.
us most definitely because the covers were gorgeous.
Mhm. Mhm.
Damn covers.
Well, one of those books I didn't want to read from the beginning, but I was being a team player. And that's what you have to do sometimes, be a team player, be fair to your team. I'm talking to you, the ones we're meant to find.
You know, yeah, that book was something. I always find it weird when I watch people's reviews of that book because either you're like, "What the fuck was this book?" or you're in love with it, and I just
Yeah.
don't understand what I missed because I usually am all for like weird books. And as I was reading The Bone Orchard, I was thinking, I wonder if The Bone Orchard's gonna fall into that category where there's people that are
Oh,
like, I absolutely love this book, and other people are like, what the fuck? Because it's weird and confusing. You've got hive minds, you've got like just fragmented personalities, all kinds of weird stuff.
is
Like
it
it's
is it trying to do too much in one book? Do you think maybe that's the problem?
I think it doesn't have enough world building to do what it wants to do.
Mm,
And that's really the issue.
mm.
You're kind of dropped into it, and I think there's supposed to be some mystery aspect of it because obviously it's a mystery. She's trying to figure out who murders who, and
Oh, it's a
but there's
mystery, like
those,
it's a fantasy mystery?
yeah. So like,
Okay.
but you still could build out a little bit more stuff. So I understood what the heck was happening before this all started, but I don't know. It was. I still don't know how I feel about it. I'm
Mm,
squarely in the
mhm.
middle right now on it because the writing's actually really beautiful at times, and I kinda like the complex nature of the story that she was trying to write. It's very difficult to write what she was writing,
Yeah.
and she didn't quite get there in my opinion, but
And
definitely
this is
really
a series. It's
I don't think The Bone Orchard is. No, it's a
Oh, it's a
standalone.
standalone. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I don't know where she would go with it. So,
Interesting. Okay. Huh. Well, there you have it.
yeah, so you get, like, a bonus book review.
Yeah.
Anywho,
Oh well.
so since we're just randomly talking about books here, and because I'm starving and want to heat up a cauliflower pizza because I'm exhausted and tired and hungry. And what's your book recommendation, Amy?
Well, today I'm coming to you with a memoir. It is
A memoir.
Where You Are Is Not Who You Are by Ursula M. Burns.
Ooh,
She
yeah, you love.
was she was the CEO of Xerox, and
Mm-hmm.
I've known about her for a really, really long time. And so I was happy to get this book to read her story. She's an interesting woman. And also she mentioned some things about her being a CEO, like they had like protective security detail, and it was like kind of deep. And I just never thought about the fact that the risk of being kidnapped or like weird things like that happen. That's a real scenario that could happen. And so having
Yeah.
security detail was like a real thing. And I guess I never really thought about that, the access they have, to, key secrets, financials, all that stuff. Of course, they have to be protected and secured. So that was really interesting. But she said something in here that I have not forgotten that I actually think is really good advice for any woman who is really on a strong career trajectory and who also wants to get married and have a family. And she did this, and she says she recommends that women marry older
Mm.
because if you marry older, marry a man who's already maybe halfway through his career, already through all of his highs, then when it's time for you to get to that point where you really need to make those sacrifices to go higher in your career, he's probably more apt and more willing or in a position to either like settle down with his professional responsibilities or to retire. And that's what happened with her. She
Interesting.
married older, so by the time she really like career took off, her husband was in a position where he was like, you know what, I've been doing this 30 years. I'm going to retire and I'm going to take care of the kids.
That's
And I
nice.
was right. And I was like, you know what? That's actually pretty solid damn advice. Because it allows you both to have the careers that you want and the family that you want. And I
Or you
thought that
could
was great
just
advice.
not get married or have children. That's another
That's why I
option.
said for those women who want to have a career and get married and have children. And it's a very short book, but it was really, really good. I really enjoyed it.
Is
So that
Xerox
is
still
Where You
around?
Are. Of course. Aren't they? Where You Are is Not Who You Are. A memoir by Ursula M. Burns.
I mean, I guess they are. I didn't think they went the way of Polaroid. Um,
Yeah. So,
those names you were used to, and then suddenly they're gone, and in like
mhm,
another decade, no one will remember them.
right.
Or they will, and they'll discover it, and it'll be like young people being like, "Look at this new thing I found."
Well, whenever someone talks about a copier, they say Xerox.
Oh, what was I listening to recently? And they said mimeograph, and I was like,
Whoa.
"Ooh, we are old."
Whoa. Mm.
Oh, the mimeograph. Anyway, since I'm going on vacation, and I think I've said this about 100 times because I'm so excited because I haven't gone on an actual vacation in so long. Thank you, pandemic.
Mhm.
Um, I figured I'd recommend like something that everybody knows, but is a fantastic like beach read, vacation read, and that
Oh,
would
what
be
is this?
Well Met by Jen
Oh boy.
DeLuca, which is a lovely romance about this girl, and she ends up having to work at the Ren Fair, and then she falls in love with this guy that works at the Ren Fair, and it's absolutely wonderful. And could this be more apropos for Alyssa, the lover of the Ren Fair? And like I wanted this story to be about me.
So you liked it.
I loved it. And I haven't read the other two because
Oh,
I
what's the
don't know.
series?
Yeah, there's it's not like a series, but you know, like our romances will have like another character in the book will get their story. Like
I
the
consider that a series.
sister. Sure. So it's a series. And she has at least two more. And I don't know if I want to read them because I love this so much.
But what if you love the other two?
I know. So maybe at some point I'll
Maybe
read
maybe you're
them.
missing out.
But I love them so much.
Maybe
It's
you'll
like
love the other couples.
it's like just smutty enough. It's witty. There's some banter. There's a little bit of like, oh, it's just I loved it.
I will take your word for it. I have what is her name? I follow her on BookTube. Oh, her name is Kat, maybe. She loves that book. I've heard some good things about it. It sounds cute.
Memorex.
Memorex.
This is the one-stop shop for old people face. Did you see my TikTok from today? Just to like
No.
so I figured out how to call all the old people on TikTok. So if I said to you, if I shouted regulators, do you know what you say next?
No, what do you say?
What up? And then you don't know that song?
What song is it?
You don't know regulator?
Sing it. Wait, you can sing it,
No,
right?
I can't sing
No, you
it.
can't. Don't play it
Naomi.
because we'll get in trouble.
No. Naomi. See, you might be too old.
What is it?
Oh, it's a
Well, who's
song.
it by?
So
Don't.
you've got Warren G and Nate Dogg.
Oh, then I am gonna know it.
Do you hear the whistling?
Hmm.
Oh, come on,
Oh,
Naomi.
okay, we're talking early 2000s then.
No, we're talking 94.
That's not early 2000s.
No, that's 94. It's Warren
She got
G.
it. Warren G. Now,
Naomi.
I look. I will admit, me no Warren G fan. Okay, sorry,
Okay, fine.
sorry.
I'll let you have
So
that. Anyway, I had a fun time.
she
It
had a
made
fun
me
time calling
happy.
out the old people.
I just was like, I just want to find my fellow old people.
We're out there.
Where
We're
where
out
are
there on
all
the
the other
TikToks.
90s kids? Where are all the people that were sold this idea that somehow everything would get better when we were older?
You're a '90s kid. I'm an '80s kid. Because in
Fine.
'94, I was 19.
Okay, fine.
I was 19. So
In
yeah,
94, I
because we're
was
a decade apart.
12. You don't
Mm.
have to fit in. It was everywhere, Naomi. You're
It
getting called
probably
out for this.
was. It probably was, but like if it wasn't in my rotation, it's just a blip in my brain. I'm sorry.
I think my brother
Sorry.
would play it all the time because my brother, if I
Mm.
was 12, my brother would have been like 16 or 17, depending on the
Mm.
time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be blasting next door to me.
What was I listening to in '94? Gosh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Memories. See, if we had streaming services back then, I could just pull up my history. But we don't have that.
We don't. But isn't it wonderful that you have a whole like misspent youth that isn't on the internet?
God, yes. I mean, I felt like I lived freely as a teenager.
Oh yeah.
Freely. Like, you ain't got shit on me.
I mean, I've got shit on me and I have the negatives, but you can't have them.
So it was a good time. It was a good time, you know.
Mhm.
You could
'Cause I
just
don't
be a
think
teenager and be stupid and
I
have fun.
didn't I didn't get Facebook until senior year of college, like, and I mean like March of my senior year. Like I was
Mhm.
almost out of college before my college got added to the list because like they were adding colleges. Like
Mhm.
you could college had to be sort of invited to Facebook. So like I this no, we missed like almost all of my misspent youth. It is
Yeah, I mean, when I joined Facebook, I mean, you still had to have a university email to join when I joined.
Mhm.
Uh and also that was when I liked Facebook. The moment they opened it up to everyone, I was like, "Oh, F this. I'm out." I just when
Once
old
like
high
my
school people
parents
start
were
like,
on
"Hey,
there.
we went to school together." I'm like, we did, and I'm blocking you now. I don't want that in my life.
For me, it
It's
was
not
like when
fun."
your parents were on there and seeing it, I was like, well, now you ruined something fun. Cause like this was like a private space, like for me and
Mhm.
people. And it's not a private space because it's social media, and that's an important thing for everybody to remember. It's not a private space. Everyone can see this. But
Yeah.
yeah, it felt like your little friend zone was being violated by your dad being like, "Oh, honey, you look nice going out to the club." Like
That doesn't bother me. I don't care if my parents are on the same social media I'm on. I don't
but your
care.
parents aren't judgmental.
Oh, well.
Like I've had nasty grams come in from like aunts
Oh.
based on things that have been said on the
Oh.
internet.
Well, that's mean.
And I mean, like, I got a nasty email from one of my aunts after I posted like me doing a car bomb on St. Patty's Day because I was being like, I don't know, sacrilegious or something.
Oh, and that's when you block that aunt.
See, and then that's how you ruin social media. It's like,
Oh, man.
yeah,
Oh, well.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway.
Anywho,
Well,
I'm
this was
really hot.
fun.
And I would like to eat something.
Yeah, this was fun. It was a good talk. Good talk.
Good talk.
Join us for our May read, which is The Maleficent 7 by, is it Cameron Johnson?
Cameron Johnson. I actually do have it up here. It's right over there. I have just the books are everywhere. I haven't shelved anything. I need to spend like days here, but that won't happen till June.
Well, first of all, I haven't even
Exciting.
done my book haul video from when we had our book shopping excursion 2 weeks ago. So I need to do that soon. Mm,
Oh, so you gotta wait a while.
okay. Yeah.
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 I still don't understand why we poked each other, but anyway. What was the whole
Poking.
poke? That he was like just
Poking.
constantly poking each other.
I mean, remember who created this
I
stupid.
know.
Okay,
I
yeah,
know.
so
I know.
yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway,
Anyway.
join us for our
Yeah.
May read.
I kind of like that we're doing a grimdark after this because I'm hoping it will redeem the dark, gritty.
I hope
Attempt of
so.
battle
I really
royale.
hope so. I have high hopes. I
I
have high
want
hopes.
like people ripping eyeballs out with their bare hands, like
All that
grotesque
good stuff.
level. That's what the level I want in this
Yeah.
grimdark. And
Yeah.
the cast of characters, I think, is like fantastic. I just
It
think it's
it
a
sounds so
really
interesting, doesn't it?
interesting group. You got like a
Mhm.
vampire and like a pirate and like
Yes.
an
Yes.
orc, and it's
It
just it's such a unique grouping of characters that it's got to be
yeah.
fun. It's got to at least be fun. If it's not fun, then
Yeah, you can
it's
go to
not.
our website, TBR Lowdown, to look at the synopsis and, get the names and the author of the book and all that good stuff and buy a
Yeah.
copy. So we're excited about it. I'm
Yep.
excited. I think
Yep.
I'm gonna start Sunday.
I might start
I'm gonna
soon.
start Sunday. Because I want
Yeah.
to finish up some other reads this weekend. So that may be like one of my Sunday reads.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening this weekend. Starting tomorrow, I'm just basically at work until Tuesday.
Good luck with that. Tomorrow's my day off. Yay! Okay, thanks for tuning in,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank
We
you. Thank
appreciate your
you.
support. All right. Bye.
Bye. Oh, I have to hit the thing. I forgot that. I'm so used to you doing it.